we never had the appetite on either side of the Atlantic to then move our forces to liberate Eastern Europe from the Soviets. That was mission impossible. Ukraine is not like that. Ukraine is not lying there abject, defenseless, ready to be rolled over. The Ukraine generates 60% of its own weapons in the battle, has powerful allies in Europe and at one stage the United States. It isn't lying there prostrate, ready to be carved up, defenseless and weak. It is there to be defended. My fear is that in Alaska, the United States will cease to defend it.
There's an awful lot to talk about today. I know we're in the middle of August, but there's loads going on. Putin and Trump are meeting on Friday in Alaska. The US has not ruled out President Zelensky attending too. Europe is encouraging that idea. But how would that work? Would he be in the room? Andrew, this has all the whiff of a carve-up or a stitch-up or something that's not necessarily going to be beneficial to Ukraine.
Yes, I look on Friday when they meet in Alaska with great trepidation and apprehension, because who knows what these two, Putin and Trump, may agree. Whether they can implement what they agree is another matter, but who knows what they may get up to. The Europeans have been sidelined. It looks like President Zelensky, and Ukraine has been sidelined. It looks like Trump's intention is to do some kind of agreement with President Putin over their heads, a carve-up, because Mr. Trump regards Europe as an inconvenience. It just gets in the way. He wants to deal with the big power people like him, like the president of Russia. And so he wants one-on-one. He doesn't want the complications. It has a shades. My fear is there's a whiff of Munich about this. There's a whiff of great powers carving up the territory of countries that are not their countries and not their land to give away.
Is that Yalta as well, Andrew? Eastern Europe, there's a tradition of that. What happened to Poland in the end of the Second World War?
But at Yalta, there was almost nothing the Western Allies could do. The Soviet Union dominated Eastern Europe. We never had the appetite on either side of the Atlantic to then move our forces to liberate Eastern Europe from the Soviets. That was mission impossible. Ukraine is not like that. Ukraine is not lying there abject, defenseless, ready to be rolled over. The Ukraine generates 60% of its own weapons in the battle, has powerful allies in Europe and at one stage the United States. It isn't lying there prostrate, ready to be carved up, defenseless and weak. It is there to be defended. My fear is that in Alaska, the United States will cease to defend it.
Yeah, we had Catherine Philp on saying he couldn't have picked a location further away from Europe if you think of where that's taking place in the east, and they've gone basically as far west as they possibly could go. So in practice, what does it mean, though, Andrew, in your view? Because so much of what both Putin and Trump say is divorced from reality, and they'll both, whatever happens, they'll both say this is a victory. They'll both say these talks have been successful. Are we heading for fudge territory here, where whatever happens, everyone will trumpet success? Probably the war will either continue or there'll be a temporary ceasefire, but it doesn't feel like we're very close to determining the facts of the issue that would lead to a long-standing peace.
No, and I think we're in uncharted territory. When Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump get together, and I don't think much preparation has been done for this meeting. There isn't a deal that's been agreed in advance. I don't know where we'll end up. I was speaking to some people very close to Trump about Putin's demands, and they haven't changed. He wants to keep everything that so far he's conquered all along eastern Ukraine, and he wants more. He wants more. I was writing down, he wants more of the regions of the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia and the Donetsk and Luhansk that he doesn't have. Territory in these areas that he hasn't yet conquered. He wants NATO membership to be ruled out forever for Ukraine, and he wants serious limitations on the size of Ukraine's military in a post-peace deal, so that basically it would be lying there defenseless for the next time Russia makes its moves. Now, Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin can agree all that in Alaska if they are so minded, but Europe won't agree to that. And Ukraine and President Zelensky won't agree to that. The danger then is that Mr. Trump just throws his toys out the pram and says, well, I did my best for peace. I really deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. It's not my fault the peace deal isn't being implemented. Let Europe and Ukraine stew in their own juice. I never wanted to be there in the first place. I've got bigger fish to fry elsewhere. And then we move into seriously dangerous territory.
Вверх.